Today's segment of Sound Balming is brought to you by Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Body Care. I cannot express to you how much we love their products. Although we use them all year, as the weather gets colder, we need these products even more. The dreaded drop in temperature, the dryness, the itchiness, and the unnecessary flakiness is inevitable. Shea butter from Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Body Care is the only thing that works for my skin and hair needs. Not only do these products cure my dry skin, the whipped butter goes on smoothly and doesn't leave that uncomfortably thick, sticky residue. Bonus? It smells absolutely amazing. There are so many different scents to choose from too. Not only do they carry skincare products, there are products for authentic living, face, shower, hair and beard, spritzers and perfumes, and bath products. Let me tell you, we cannot even keep the stuff in the studio. The entire production team as well as all our children use Jimmy and Mary's product. Jimmy and Mary's take pride in creating quality, handcrafted products from simple ingredients for the entire family. Their products are made for all skin types and are 100% handmade, 100% vegan, and 100% cruelty-free. Skincare is important. Moisture is key, and keeping our skin and hair hydrated is essential. I cannot emphasize how much we trust Jimmy and Mary's for all of our skincare needs. Hurry on up to jimmyandmarys.com and check out their products. Did I mention service is fast and efficient too? Don't forget to mention that you heard about Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Skincare on Sound Balming. Use the discount code SOUNDBALM20 to get 15% off. That's SOUNDBALM20 for 15% off at Jimmy and Mary's Authentic Skincare.
Hey everybody, welcome to Sound Bombing. I created this show for people who want to experience a radical, life-changing journey through the sounds of my diverse guests. I hope that each sound you hear on this show will strengthen your faith, encourage your dreams, and challenge you to awaken the greatness within you.
Drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're going to drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're going to drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We come to drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. With the bomb.
This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, the star of the show,
Lamar Darnell Shields.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the time of the day it is. Welcome to my show. I'm your host, Dr. Lamar Darnell Shields, the creator of Sound Bombing. And my goal with this show is to introduce you to people with ideas that will help you unlock your full potential. It's been so long since I've spoken to many of you. I took some time off during the summer, but I am back with some amazing, amazing guests. I hope you've been safe. I hope you've been eating the best things that you should be eating. I hope you've been exercising. Or I like to say, I hope you've been moving your body. I hope that your family is safe. But we have some amazing episodes for you. And we did need to take some time off. I'm always talking about self-care. So again, I had to take some time off. Not only did I just take time off, I've traveled with my children throughout the South. We did a civil rights tour, went from Florida to Birmingham, to Georgia, to Alabama. Of course, yes, we went to all the hot spots. Yes, we did. We didn't go to Louisiana. We went to all the hot spots. And my daughter is going to be attending college next year. So we visit all those places. So I am back and I'm excited to bring on my next guest. But before I introduce my next guest, I want to play an episode from one of my favorite TV shows, Seinfeld. Yes, I am a Seinfeld fan. Stop hating. Yes, I love comedy. I love comedy. I love to laugh. But this particular episode is entitled Non-Fat Yogurt Makes You Fat. Let's just check this out.
I was having lunch and I bit down on the fork.
Boy, it's hard to believe with so much biting experience, a person could still make a mistake like that.
What?
You're getting heavy.
Yeah, you look like you put on 10 pounds. I'll tell you something else. You're looking a little chunky yourself, buddy.
Me?
Yeah. No.
Where's your bathroom scale? Oh my God, I've gained 7 pounds!
I've gained 8.
I told you.
I thought I put on a couple, but 7 pounds? How did I gain 7 pounds?
How did I gain 8?
I don't get it. I've been doing the same exercises. I haven't been eating anything different.
Me either. Wait a second. Maybe it's that yogurt.
No. That's 100% non-fat.
Well, how else could this have happened?
Well, maybe it's the Oreos.
So I don't eat Oreos.
You don't eat Oreos? The way you break them open, you're practically having sex with them.
What about me?
You're getting old.
Maybe your yogurt isn't so non-fat.
Oh, guess again, Tubby.
Now, I know some of you all are sitting back and like, yes, I have gained some weight during COVID. As the COVID-19 vaccine rolls out and continues, the weather turns warmer and we see the light at the end of the tunnel, or the pandemic tunnel. But it's also a time of renewed interest in setting new health goals. Many of us has found our diets going a bit awry and workout routines disrupted throughout the pandemic. And when you look at this episode from Seinfeld, the pandemic didn't even exist during that time. Plus, there's an emotional component, the stress of the pandemic, taking a toll on all of us in different ways. So as we continue, or as we come out of the pandemic, that's what some people say, how can we establish new, healthier routines? I'm so glad you asked me. What's the best way to lose weight we've gained during the pandemic, and where should our focus start? Well, to help me answer how to shake the pandemic weight gain and get your health back on track, I've invited Paul Salter to the Sound Bombing Studios. Paul's a registered dietitian, coach, author, and sustainable weight loss expert. He firmly believes that weight loss related challenges aren't related to the lack of nutrition knowledge. We were actually projections of deeper rooted emotional and psychological challenges that won't be able to confidently sustain weight loss until those challenges are acknowledged and overcome. His passion is helping men and women just like you reframe their thoughts and reshape their behavior so they can transform their relationship with food and dieting and finally lose the unwanted weight once and for all. Well, since 2013, he's worked one-on-one with over 1,400 men and women just like you who have collectively lost over 10,000 pounds and inches. You hear me? 10,000 of inches and maintain their results. He's also the host of the great podcast, Screw the Scale. It's funny because she said, where's your bathroom scale? And Seinfeld looked at her like, what the hell do you think the bathroom scale is? Paul, welcome to Sound Bombing, brother. How are you doing?
Lamar, I'm fantastic, my man. Thank you so much for having me.
Man, you got to let our listeners know where you're calling in from and how you're doing.
Yeah, man, I'm doing fantastic. Calling in from bright and sunny Tampa, Florida, and really just enjoying the weather this time of year.
Yo, man, I just left Tampa. I was in Pinellas County, which is the entire county, working in St. Petersburg. Love the St. Petersburg, Tampa area. Have some of the best vegan restaurants in the country. Hang out there all the time, man. If I would have known that you were there, we could have done this interview right on the beach somewhere, right in one of my favorite restaurants. But you know, I'm here. And then, first of all, you in the belly of the beast. You are in the number one hot zone. Maybe this is best. You know, maybe hold up. Let me do this. Maybe I should do this interview with my mask on, since your governor, and this is not a political show, would not let my kids go back to school with masks. That's a whole nother conversation, man. But welcome to the show, Paul. I'm so glad that you decided to hang out with me today, man. You know, the pandemic has brought about a series of lifestyle changes for many of us that are both bad and sometimes good. So, a couple of questions. So, what should we be doing to make better choices? And then what are your thoughts about that funny Seinfeld clip, man, is talking about non-fat yogurt and about gaining weight, man? I love that clip.
Yeah, let's start with the clip first. Hysterical. It always gives me a good laugh. And I think it paints the picture so well of how the diet trends and who is to blame for the obesity epidemic and, you know, the weight gain over the last couple of decades. 1 minute it's fat makes you fat. The next it's carbs, then it's sugar, then it's fat again. So the fact that now we're saying it's non-fat yogurt in that particular episode, to me, it just comes across as hysterical, but truly relatable about how we're always looking to find a source of blame outside of ourselves.
So why do we do this blame game? There's a photo that I show It's anybody's connected to education. So it's parents, it's testers, it's the administration, it's the board, it's all, and it's called the education blame game. And it's a big circle. And I ask every educator when I put that clip up, who's missing? Who's missing in the circle? Who could we add to the circle? Have you been a part of this circle? And then why are we blaming ourselves? Why do we blame so many other people when it comes to this whole gaining weight scenario?
Oh man, because it's easy. It's easy to place the blame somewhere else. It's easy to say the pandemic, the lockdown, the vaccine, the mask, like the gym's not being open, the restaurants being closed. It's so much easier to place blame not only on something outside ourselves, but more importantly, something that everyone else can understand. You know, if I'm telling you that because my gym's closed, I can't work out, and you're like, yeah, man, me too. Well, now I feel validated for this belief, and I feel, you know, kind of at peace inside myself that, hey, you know, he or she can't work out too. I'm not the only one. It's okay. So my excuse has been validated, and that makes it a lot easier to do than to accept responsibility.
And then you find people that's going to support your story. I always say that we're actors and directors. And when you're a director, you want to find some of the best support staff, right? Some best supporting actors and actresses that's going to continue to tell this lie and believe the lie. What I love about my trainer, shout out to Chauncey, the trainer. I love my trainer, Paul. Right now, he needed a two-week hiatus. He went to California, hang out with his niece, but he left all of he calls it Chauncey's Angels because he mainly works out with women. And then he threw the champions in there because there's a couple of guys, but he works with all these high-profile women in the state of Maryland and just in Baltimore in particular. But what Chauncey did that was so interesting during the pandemic, I remember I started working out with him maybe in December of last year. And when all of the gyms were closing, I worked out the Jewish Community Center in my neighborhood, and everybody was shutting down. He moved to outside. So he bought all the equipment outside. We're talking, now you in Tampa, brother. I am in Baltimore where it gets cold. But these people, women, men and women, mainly women, they showed up. They came out there. They did the workout. He had everything, you know, put in one of these like, you know, those, you know, what do they call those things? They're real popular now, like these big metal sheds that look like trucks,
I know. Yeah.
And so when I said, dude, you want me to work outside? And he was like, yeah. He said, I guarantee you're going to love it. And the entire time I thought his gym was outside. Like I didn't know his gym was because we worked there before. And I'm like, is his gym outside? He was like, no, my gym is across the street because of COVID, but that shouldn't stop us. And so he trains a woman named Miss Ernestine. I don't know if you know Miss Ernestine. She's the oldest bodybuilder. She's in the Guinness Book of World Records. Miss Ernestine, I think, just turned 85, African-American one, but the oldest. She looks better than both of us. Let me just say that. And so what Chauncey always says, there's no excuses. There's no time for excuses. And someone once shared with me, Paul, said excuses only sound good to the person who's telling them. So how do you then get people to shake away from those excuses? And then what should we be doing to make better choices when we're constantly coming up with these excuses?
Fantastic question. And I'll sneak a quick side note. I grew up in Frederick County, Maryland. So right outside
man, we got
Baltimore.
Homeboys, we're neighbors, man. Frederick is growing like weeds. It is blowing up.
Yeah, I go back a couple times a year to visit my parents and my family's there, and I'm shocked every time I go see it's something different.
You don't even the downtown is booming. I was told that Frederick now is the second largest city, Baltimore, and then Frederick. So it is booming.
Wow.
Man.
Yeah, crazy. But to answer your question, fantastic question. I mean, the first thing we can do is obviously look inside ourselves, but I'm going to go a different route to answer this question. One of the best things we can do is actually look outside ourselves and really gain a clear perspective on our environment, meaning specifically, who are we surrounding ourselves with? What type of impact are the people we spend the most time with having on ourselves? And one of the examples I like to give is after you spend time with someone, inner circle, friend, significant other, how are you feeling after the conversation, the interaction? And that should be a pretty dang good gauge about how much of a positive or a negative impact that relationship is having on your life. And if you're spending time with somebody who is just constantly, spending the conversation on gossiping, talking about how negative this is, that, woe me, etc., and you leave that conversation feeling completely drained, how do you think you're going to show up for yourself or show up for your other loved ones in your life? So one of the best things we can do is start to audit the relationships in our life, what makes up our environment, to see where some potential editing or even, unfortunately, some removal may need to begin happening so that we can take back the control, the positivity, and the inspiration that's necessary for us to really prioritize our own self-care.
I love that, man. Doing an audit. I do a lot of work around diversity. inclusion, and equity. And we talk about auditing our friends, looking at the people that are in our circle. And you're so right. I love hanging around fitness people. I love hanging around people who are not only just speaking health and wealth, but also sort of living those principles. Well, man, we are in a pandemic. You are in the belly. As I said, you're in Florida, and people are in their homes. Some people are now coming out of their homes, but people are taking on some of these habits, man. What is a healthy diet during this COVID-19 pandemic? What are some things that people can do? Because it's going to get cold eventually, and people are going to be going back into their homes. And even though what the research says, Paul, that people, when they were in their homes, they were cooking more, they were cooking healthier meals. But then also you got all this junk food, you got all this food, and then you're not moving around quite a bit. Talk to me about some of the healthy diets during this pandemic. And when we get out, how could that sort of carry over into a lifestyle? Because I say my diet is a lifestyle. It's what I choose to do.
Yeah, so I love that you just shared that, because a quick note that I think will build some great context and foundation for the next part is there's actually two definitions of the word diet. There's the one you and I both know very well, intentionally eating fewer calories to lose weight. And that's the one, weight loss industry has made billions of dollars off of. But the second definition that is completely underappreciated and undervalued simply means a habitual way of eating. And I think everyone who is listening to the show right now would agree is that we want to feel, look, perform, and be our best. So if we can adapt our approach and our foundation of healthy eating habits to the second definition, again, just a habitual way of eating, that automatically is going to check one of the most important boxes when it comes to building a foundation of healthy eating habits, which is sustainable. Because if you're taking an approach that leads to you continuing to feel better, look better, perform better, and be better, well, heck, that becomes a lot more sustainable because it's just a cycle of positive reinforcement. So that's a good distinction I want to put out there first. But then the second point kind of circles back to what we kicked off the show with related to taking ownership. And it's simply this. From a young age, think 5, 6, we develop a pretty good idea of the difference between healthy, not so healthy. We develop a pretty good idea of what an appropriate portion size is and what something that is completely ridiculous and crazy is. So it's nothing to do with a lack of knowledge when it comes to putting these healthy eating habits together, choosing foods that are in line with helping us feel, look, and be our best. And I think the best step we can take is actually to trust ourselves, to trust the fact that we do know that some foods are more nutritious than other. We know that eating a healthier meal is going to make us feel better in the short and long term versus, picking up fast food on our way home. So if we can lean into the knowledge we have and trust ourselves, then the next step that we can take is truly gaining clarity on how we wish to feel or look or be or perform. And then take ownership of which foods we're putting into our body and how that's impacting our progress toward our goal. Is it taking us a step closer? Is it bringing us back? So we're trusting our knowledge, and then we're gaining clarity on how it is we want to feel, and then prioritizing the right foods to help us meet that outcome.
So let's talk. You are from the Maryland area. You're living in Tampa. Let's be real clear about food deserts. Let's be real open about, people of color, poor white folks who don't have access to good, whole, healthy foods. Mm-hmm. And I want to work out. And I want to do these things. What advice do you have for those individuals who are in those food deserts, who are in those communities where health and wellness is going to the corner store and finding something to eat, or eating greasy foods, or eating foods that are unhealthy, or being around people that don't want to move? What advice do you have for those folks who are constantly finding themselves getting stuck in the rut because they're around those individuals who may not understand what healthy living actually means?
Yeah, so two things. Number one, it kind of circles back to the editing of relationships, doing an audit of your environment. What changes can you make related to where you're spending your time and who you're spending it with? But from a nutrition and physical activity perspective, find one stupidly simple small change that you can make that will provide an immediate return on your investment. So let's say, for example, your usual breakfast, for instance, is running out to the local fast food restaurant, gravitating towards greasy X, Y, and Z. Can you add a piece of fruit or make some type of tiny substitution there that will help you feel a little bit better? And when you identify that single positive change you can make, the best thing you can do for yourself is celebrate the heck out of the fact that you just made a positive change. Because what you're doing by, physically, emotionally feeling the win, the victory, the celebration of accomplishing that small change is you're beginning to rewire your unconscious mind to say, hey, this felt really good to make this change. I got a nice hit of dopamine. I want to do this again. And now all of a sudden it starts to become a little bit easier. You start to seek out those things that make you feel better. And then all of a sudden you build positive momentum and you start to accumulate confidence, and you're now more likely to make a second change. And now we get this positive reinforcement cycle that can lead to, teeny tiny changes accumulating over time to make a completely transformative impact on the way you eat as a whole.
With your clients that come in contact with you, what are you seeing or what are you hearing as a consistent narrative over and over again that you're seeing with the majority of the people that come to you? Is there a consistent narrative or story?
I don't have time.
I tell people all the time, we're special, but you're not that special. You're going to get the same 24 hours that everybody. So if I come to you and say, Paul, I don't have time, what's your response?
So I try to challenge them. Why don't they have time? What perceived barriers or challenges are in their way? And through, a good open and back and forth dialogue, we're really able to identify that, oh yes, I do have time. Time is an easy excuse. I can get lack of time validated by almost anyone in my peer circle. But what we really begin to uncover is there's no clear driving force or why behind they want to, complete said goal or complete said task, implement said new habit. So where we often pivot from that conversation is gaining clarity on how they want to feel, why it's important that, action item X is the approach to get them there. And once we're really clear on the why behind how they want to feel, once we're really clear on what that action step is to get them there, we then kind of similarly, like I just said, try to break it down into a tiny, simple win. And we start very small. I'm a big believer. There's this book out there called Tiny Habits by, I believe his name is Dr. BJ Fogg, highly recommended. Tons of research out of Stanford University about literally celebrating these tiny wins. So we spend a lot of time there. And the way Dr. Fogg describes it is he wants you to celebrate the tiniest of wins as if you just received your dream job or accepted your first job. So for me, I have to do a big fist pump every time I do something that seems so simple and silly. But again, it goes back to training our brains to begin thinking differently, to begin craving that positive change that makes us feel good. And that is just simply a recipe for long-term success.
So I heard you say that you're talking about helping people understand their why. Why are you so excited about fitness? What took place in your life that got you excited about wanting other people to get excited about their lifestyle?
Yeah. So picture this, 16 years old, multi-sport athlete. I stood a whopping 5'2", maybe 110 pounds. So clearly my peers, for the most part, were much bigger, stronger, faster, obviously taller than me. And what I began to do during this time, even as early as the age of 12, is I fell in love with weightlifting. I clearly understood it. If I exercised, it had an impact on my body, my energy, how I performed, how I could keep up with my peers, etc. And coupled a couple years later, I don't really know how this started. I like to just give my mom all the credit in the world. I started to recognize that the food I put in my body, again, began to make a huge difference on how I felt. And I was able to keep up with my peers who were bigger, stronger, faster. During football 2-a-day practices, I was the one at the end of the second practice winning the sprints because I wasn't going to McDonald's after the first practice in the morning. I might go to Subway, or I might go home and make a healthier choice at home. So for me, what really lights me up is recognizing that I have 110 freaking percent control of what I put in my body, how I move my body. And that has been shown, for decades to have such a tremendously positive impact on so many areas of my life, specifically how I feel. Goes back to what I said earlier. I want to feel really, really good. So why would I not prioritize putting the best fuel in my body? Why would I not prioritize doing the movement form that makes me feel best? And when I can help people unlock that same aha moment, find what works for them, what helps them feel their best, man, it's a win-win situation that really just unlocks so much potential for them.
You talk about potential, you talk about your story, which I think says a lot about who you are, because I don't think we know enough about the people that we're working with. You just become a client. I think it's important for us to share those stories. And speaking of that, I've listened to a lot of stories from people who are a part of the show, The Biggest Loser and things like that. And now I'm going to put my research hat on. What I read and discovered was that many of those individuals who lost the weight for the show put that weight back on. They put it back on. And so I know in your work, you talk about how do you help people keep the weight off? What is that secret, or what is your process of helping people to keep the weight off?
Yeah. So every single client of mine that comes to me seeking weight loss, we don't actually begin dieting for probably 8 to 12 weeks. And that goes back into the first definition I shared earlier, just intentionally eating to lose weight. And the reason is a lot of people right now, it's very easy to gravitate towards outsourcing their nutrition. Oh, here's fad diet A, let me just do this. And they're full of to-dos and not to-do lists, restrictive meal plans, or maybe they're super specific meal plans that at the end of the day are not sustainable. So what we spend our time doing the first, 4, 8, maybe even 12 weeks is we really break down and rebuild a foundation of healthy eating habits that is individualized to said person. Do they want to eat 6 times per day, 3 times per day? Do they want to be vegetarian? Do they want to follow this, that, the other? But more importantly, we make sure we focus on simplicity from day one, and then last but not least, sustainability. So we check those 3 boxes from day one. And inevitably, anytime we seek to build a new foundation of habits, learn a new skill, there's a lot of stress that comes with that. We're out of our comfort zone. There's novelty to it. There's some layer of difficulty to it as well. And when we embark on a diet trying to lose weight, that brings about a ton of physiological, emotional, psychological stress. So to me, when somebody starts a diet, it makes no sense to just pile stress on top of stress on top of stress. So what we do is we remove all diet reduced stress for the first, couple of months until they build a groove of consistency and confidence related to this new foundation of healthy eating habits. And then, only then, after they've really implemented this framework of eating, we'll start to reduce portions to initiate weight loss. And the biggest feedback I get when we get there is, wow, for once, this diet actually feels easy. The weight comes off smoother. And at this point, the only change they ever made was just putting more or less on their plate. And they can do this the rest of their life based on their shorter long-term goals. But it's because they did the hard work up front in the absence of diet-related stress that they're able to achieve that sustainable and significant progress they desire.
So what's the biggest mistake that people make that leads them to regaining the weight that they actually lost?
They don't check those 3 boxes of individualization, sustainability, and simplicity. That when they outsource to, let's say, not to pick on this diet, but the ketogenic diet, still all of the rave these days. That's well and good if you never want to eat carbohydrates again for the rest of your life. But I think everybody listening could appreciate a good cookie, donut, cheesecake, something of that sort. So, people they develop such a sense of tunnel vision. They want results yesterday. It's how we're conditioned in this day and age, specifically with the rise of social media, notifications, etc. But taking that tunnel vision focus and only looking ahead to the next 30, 60, or 90 days, we are unable to answer the question, what are we doing on day 91? How do we, regain this sense of normalcy now that we've just basically starved ourselves for 90 days, which we can all do. We can be very committed and motivated for short periods of time. But if we don't see the long-term picture from day one, we're never going to sustain what it is we work to accomplish.
So are you discovering that the clients that come to you, the people that come to you, their issue is bigger than just weight loss? And if their issue is bigger than weight loss, then what else are you offering them? Because what I'm discovering is when I look at all these people who are getting all of this surgery done, Paul, I mean, from butts to eyes to hairs to just getting pecs and everything, what I discovered that even when they got those things done, there was still some self-hatred. There was some self-esteem issues. There was some abandonment issues that the cosmetics did not do. Now, I know when I run, man, the endorphins kick in. I feel good. When I meditate, all that kicks in. So what else are you discovering that people are coming to you with that has nothing to do with weight loss, but there are other things that you're providing them with to support them in the process of losing weight?
The 2 biggest factors I'm noticing most holding people back and ultimately leading to self-sabotaging behaviors include a nasty, harsh inner critic, the way they talk to themselves, as well as a handful of very powerful limiting beliefs that are holding them back. And one of the most foundational pieces of education we really begin with, in whether it's one-on-one clients or in our community rather, is, we talk them through the impact that negative self-talk and word choice has on their identity, and really sharing with them, the way you talk to yourself is going to influence the thoughts that go in your head over and over again. Those thoughts are going to influence the actions you take. you and I both know when we do an action over and over, it becomes a habit. It's those actions and habits that influence our results and our outcomes, which ultimately shapes our entire identity. So we do a lot of work at where we find the single biggest origin point to be, which is how we are talking with ourselves up there. And we'll really do a deep dive into the origin of some of the nasty self-talk, the word choice used. And what we often find is that this forms during early childhood. Between the ages of 0 and 6 or 7, about 90 to 95% of our values and belief systems are formed. And at one point or another, that self-talk, that word choice was serving us in some capacity. It was a protective measure. Maybe we weren't getting the love, affection, time, energy from our parent, guardian, loved ones, et cetera, at that time. So we developed these statements to kind of serve and protect us at the time. Well, now we fast forward 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, they're not serving us anymore. So we've got to work to identify why they were there and then begin to rewrite them so we can have a positive downstream effect on all those other areas I mentioned.
But then if you go back to the clip from Seinfeld, Kramer looked at Elaine and Seinfeld and he was like, look at you, you gained 8 pounds, or look at you, you gained 5 pounds. And then they scrambled because they thought that they were doing the right thing with the non-fat yogurt. But not only are you talking about your self-talk, how can we be mindful of the talk that other people share with us? Because in this clip, he clearly said, you're gaining weight. He clearly said to him, you're gaining weight. And even though they didn't feel like it, they then were stressed out because somebody else said that they gained weight. How do you then help your clients shake that part off as well?
Yeah, it all comes back to that environment. So 2 big editing exercises or auditing exercises we do are related to A, our inner circle, and B, social media. And that's kind of the fun one for me because it's had such a positive impact on my own life, is editing what's popping up in my Instagram feed, who's connecting with me on Facebook, so that we can ultimately reshape that environment to be one that lifts us up, helps us feel better, more inspired, motivated, supported, cared for. And we do the same thing with the people we spend time with. We do a lot of deep work on, okay, is this person actually serving me, or is he or she in support of my goals? And ultimately, if you have this, let's call it, this negative Nelly in your life who constantly makes remarks like Kramer did, well, that person is not serving you in that capacity. And it might take an honest conversation to maybe change things, or it may take editing that relationship so you're only spending time with him or her on a very limited, controlled basis. And ultimately, again, it's taking back power and control of what external influences we are receiving in the form of social media and then words by our peers. And we have to then default to those we love, know, and trust the most. We're going to respect the heck out of what they tell us. We're going to trust that they're giving us positive feedback only because they care. If some Joe Schmo or someone we don't really value, support, or respect is giving us feedback, we want to learn to filter that out. Don't take things personally and work to understand why that relationship's even in our life in the first place and what we need to do to make a positive change.
So you talked about positive self-talk. You talked about eating healthy and dieting. Let's jump to exercise. What's the best way to get back into exercising? It is still nice in most environments. We can get outside. I love that because even during the pandemic, Paul, it was hard to get a bike. It was hard to get a skateboard. It was hard to get weights in Walmart. I don't know what it is, Paul, with the 20-pound weight. My trainer said most people like 20 to 25. I could not find a 20 to 25 pound weight. So I want to get back out there, not just me, but somebody's watching. I said, I want to get out there to start exercising. I always say move. Because when I say exercise, people are like, well, I need to go get a membership. I like move your body. So what's the best way to get back into it?
Start walking. Whether you're outside or you're pacing from one end of your home to the other, start walking. There's this cool study out there. It's been going on for decades. It's called the National Weight Control Registry. And basically, in order to qualify to be a participant in this study, you have to have lost an average of, I think it's 30 or 32 pounds and kept it off for 12 months. However, the average person in the study, tens of thousands of people, has lost over 60 pounds, kept it off for 5 years. And every year they go through a series of questionnaires, interviews, et cetera, for the researchers to learn why the heck are these people so successful with sustaining their weight loss for the long term. The number one form of exercise is walking. There's no rigorous gym membership. You don't have to become a CrossFit athlete overnight. You don't need to learn to power lift, Olympic weightlift. You don't need to go to boot camp X, Y, and Z. Now, if you enjoy that, that's the best form for you. You always want to gravitate towards the form of movement that you enjoy most because that's the kind you're most likely to do. But start simple. Just start moving in the form of walking. It's really going to have a lot more benefit than you may give it credit for.
So talk to me about nutrition success. I know you're a dietitian and you're focusing on people's diet and what goes in their body and also what comes out of their mouths. If you could distill 3 to 5 principles for nutrition, what would those be?
Number one would be, if it grazes or grows, it's probably a great thing to put into your body. We're talking, premium sources of fuel, as I like to call it, the lean proteins, the healthy fats, the high fiber carbs, ample fruits, vegetables. Those, like I said earlier, we know from a young age, these are the foods that are going to help us feel, look, be, perform our best. So that's got to be a priority of focus. The second one is, that doesn't mean it needs to be your focus 100% of the time. Doesn't mean you can't have ice cream, donuts, cookies. I like ice cream and donuts together. We all have our favorite things we like to eat. So whether you want to call it the 80-20 rule doesn't matter to me. The point I want to just share with the listeners is that it doesn't have to be this all or nothing mindset. There is wiggle room for flexibility and moderation. And the best thing I can share is when you are going to intentionally indulge in one of your favorite foods, be present. Enjoy every single bite. And then just simply get back on track your next meal. One meal never defines you. If you're going to go to great lengths to enjoy this meal you love so much, don't beat yourself up. Don't feel guilty. Freaking enjoy every bite and then just simply get back on track, business as usual. And then the third piece of advice I'd share is the most underrated macronutrient referring to protein, carbohydrates, and fat, is water. So many of us are walking around incredibly dehydrated. And that has not only numerous health ramifications, but it's going to create these false senses of hunger, of cravings, etc. Because our thirst mechanism is extremely weak. It gets easily masked for feeling hungry, even though we might have eaten 2 or 3 meals for the day. We might have only had 20 ounces of water and probably 30 ounces of coffee. Dehydration is going to lead to overeating. Dehydration is going to lead to lethargy. You're going to be more likely to skip workouts, to binge later on in the day. So if you can really make it a focus to bring hydration to the top of your priority list, in addition to the other 2 variables or action items I just shared, it's going to be a complete game changer for you.
Yeah, my trainer, Chauncey, is always talking about water. Like he says, if you're drinking when you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So when you're working out, just like you and I both are drinking right here on here. I know somebody is listening, Paul, and they're loving everything that you're saying, but they've gone to the bookstore, for those that are still open. They've gone to Amazon, and Paul, they've looked at hundreds of books on healthy eating. You name keto, there's so many diets. Lose weight in 5 days, 30 days, 10 days. The black diet, the white diet, the Latin diet, the Native American diet, the all rice diet, the frijoles, the bean diet, anything. So what do you say to those individuals who are trying to figure out, where should they start when you have all of these diets that exist? And everybody, now putting on my research hat, everybody has research and data, of course, even if they might have researched 5 or 50 people, they have research and data to support the book or books that they've written and or diet they're moving. So what do you say to those individuals who are standing there looking at all of these books and trying to figure out, where do I go or how do I start?
Yeah, so a couple things. First would be, if it sounds too good to be true, it absolutely is, specifically related to any weight loss claim or rate of weight loss. But the second thing is, kind of going a different direction here is, I shared earlier, you probably already have a good idea of what's a healthy option, what helps you to feel better, the McDonald's cheeseburger or, a grilled chicken, some quinoa, some big salad, etc. So what I would encourage you to do is, for at least 3 days, but if not 7, take an honest, objective, non-judgmental approach to logging everything you eat during the day, everything you drink during the day. And after you collect 3, 5, 7 days worth, take a deep breath and simply just look through each day patiently, non-judgmentally, and see if there is a theme, pattern, trend that you can identify that is specifically contributing to how you are feeling right now. And what I think most people are going to be able to find relatively quickly is they're going to have this goal of wanting to feel, look, or perform a certain way. They're going to complete this 3, 5, 7 day food log, and they're going to notice, oh, that breakfast choice, 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row. No wonder I feel like crap at 11 a.m. No wonder I'm half asleep at 2 p.m. You're going to be able to spot some quick trends that are going to create what I like to call just an opportunity for growth or an area for education, where then you can take this new information you've gathered and you can then focus on that single tiny win I mentioned earlier to start bringing some positive momentum to your day to begin feeling the way that you truly desire.
Well, Paul, you have definitely enlightened me on many things, and I'm sure my listeners want to get in contact with you. They want to know. I know you have 11 tips to lose weight and keep it off. I know you have an amazing podcast that we talked about, the Screw the Scale podcast, and you have great talks online that I got a chance to check out. How can my listeners get in contact with you? And then what are some final thoughts that you want to leave with them as we are dealing with this pandemic, as we're dealing with all these other things that are taking place in our life that then we're using excuses not to get out and move? What are some of your final thoughts and how can my listeners get in contact with you?
Yeah, best way to get in contact with me is on Instagram. My handle is at Paul Salter Coaching. I'm very active there. It's educational, but it's entertaining. It's fun. You see a lot of my dogs right over here to the left of me. You see a lot of him on there. It's always a good time. But that's the best place to not only get in contact with me, but to get to know me, to understand, this real sustainable approach I like to take, and how, as a registered dietitian by trade, I like to say nowadays, I do so much little on nutrition and so much more on the emotional mindset and behavioral aspects of making a significant sustainable change possible. And ultimately, I think where people can really step out of their comfort zone right now, especially with what's transpired the past, 18 months or so, is, suffering in silence is one of the worst things we can do related to nutrition, our exercise, but anything in general. And ultimately what that does is it removes all hope, and a feeling of loneliness, hopelessness is not a good place to be. So connecting with like-minded people in a community setting has just such a powerful return on so many areas of your health, wealth, well-being, that I would really encourage people to, step up and connect with people, whether it's virtually, whether it's in person, whether it is, if your gyms are open, fantastic. If it's your peers, your neighborhood, whoever is around you, start connecting with like-minded people so we can remove those feelings of hopelessness, restore hope, restore inspiration, connection, positivity, because all of those collectively are going to help give you the power, the activation energy you need to start taking those positive baby steps to feel, look, and be your best.
And he said it best, positive baby steps. And even the dog echoed the exact same thing. You see, we are definitely connected. Well, Paul, thanks for hanging out with me, but you cannot leave right now. The second part of the show is called the Super Bomb Questions. It's brought to us by Mountain Made. And it's an opportunity for you to answer some different questions in a different way, but this time you need to answer them as quickly as possible. Paul, are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do it.
All right, let's go. What's your favorite word?
Plethora.
What's your favorite quote?
Success occurs outside your comfort zone. Spend more time there.
What's your superpower?
Ooh, helping people unlock the potential they didn't know they had.
What's your spirit animal?
A lion.
What moves you to tears of joy?
Laughter.
What moves you to tears of sorrow?
Challenging conversations.
What do you wish you had more time to do?
Serve others.
If you could tell one person you appreciate them, who would it be and why?
I would tell my dad that I very much appreciate all of his guidance and leadership.
What? Final question. If you were in the Mr. America talent competition, Paul Salter, what would your talent be?
It would be math related. Specifically, I don't know if you're familiar with the game. It's called Challenge 24. You ever heard of it?
No, tell me.
Okay. So basically it's, a card probably 4 inches by 4 inches. There's 4 numbers on the card. And the goal is, you're playing in a circle of people, if you will. As soon as the proctor puts a card down, the first person to, get their finger in the middle of the card has to use all 4 numbers instantly to get you the number 24. So a quick example, if the numbers on the card are 5, 3, 3, 3. I get my finger in there first. I say 3 times 3 is 9. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 plus 9 is 24. I had a lot of fun doing that in a lot of competitions when I was younger.
Wow. So if you don't make it in the dietitian and the weight loss world, you definitely got in the mathematician world. Or you can go and you can come back to Baltimore or Tampa, man, just pull the cards out and just win all the money like they do with the game. Well, man, Paul, it's been an honor talking with you, man. Thank you, brother, for all your nutritional conversation. Health and wellness and everything that you just said really spoke to me, because health and wellness is a part of my life and my listeners' life. So thank you for hanging out with us, man. Yeah,
thank you so much for the opportunity, Lamar. I really appreciate it.
Final thoughts for the shows. The big thing to remember is that there will be ups and downs, but we have to recognize that anytime we're trying to make positive change, it's not clear, linear, and upward trajectory. Whether it's diet, exercise, or managing stress, there will always be a step back along the way. And it's important to remember to keep your focus on the long term. I want to thank all of you for listening. And I also want to thank my amazing engineer, Alexander Blanc, my super duper producer, Nicole Klempaka, Supremacy for our theme music, and all of you for listening. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, and stop being stingy, and share me with all of your friends. If you want to know more about me, you can visit drlds.com, www.drlds.com.
The Super Balm questions are brought to you by Mountain Made CBD. Mountain Made is changing the CBD game by offering a line of high-dose CBD tablets at an affordable price. Their products are THC-free and third-party tested for accuracy, cleanliness, and potency. Their products, which ship nationwide, include Build for CBD saturation, Boost for precision titration, and Recover for rest and rehab. With 9 years experience in hemp and fitness, Mountain Made's founders are focused on creating a quality product to help those who live an activated lifestyle. Check out mountainmade.life. Again, that's mountainmade.life to find out more about how their products can help you crush life. Remember, their products ship nationwide. Go check out their website today and follow them on social media at Mountain Made. That's the @ MNTMADE. Our staff at Sound Balming uses Build before a morning workout, which helps to push our bodies to a whole new level on a daily basis. Try Build, try Boost, try Recover. Our staff is using these products to enhance our active lifestyle naturally, and we are crushing life with Mountain Made CBD, and you can too. Start today by going to mountainmade.life and ordering Build, Boost, Recover, or the multitude of other products that they have which will enhance your lifestyle. I promise you, you won't regret it.